Oh my God.
Hello, everybody. It is John Pollock, along with the birthday man himself, Wai Ting, on Wai Ting Day. Hello, Wai.
Oh, thank you so much, John. Yeah, thank you for the birthday card. Virtually did not expect that right off the top there. Uh, and yeah, it's a day of celebration, but of course, we wish it could be under better circumstances.
Yes, we do want to wish Wai a happy birthday. Not the most pleasant of stories to talk about off of the top. And I think that is where we should start today because everyone is focused on Scott Hall. For those that are maybe are not aware of just the circumstances, he had suffered a fall recently and broke his hip and underwent surgery. And it was during the surgery that apparently a blood clot got loose and led to him having 3 heart attacks and being placed on life support. And the latest update that we have heard as of this recording came through Kevin Nash that Scott Hall will be taken off of life support once his whole family is in place, presumably at the hospital. So, I mean, it's obviously a very dire situation, and that is where things currently stand with Scott Hall. Somebody that way, there's probably a time to go deeper into kind of the life and the career of Scott Hall. It was a very complex one. It was one that is there are a lot of lessons, I think, to be taken from Scott Hall's life. He had numerous alcohol and substance abuse problems that were very, very public. And somebody that I think you will hear a mixture of people that he had incredibly positive stories to share, others negative. It's like there's a whole gamut of it when it comes to Scott Hall, but somebody that I would imagine many people watching and listening to this, he was a key figure in their childhood, teenage years, a very instrumental figure over the last number of decades in pro wrestling.
That certainly is the case for me. It's rather unfortunate that as part of this job, we have to discuss so often, wrestlers who have passed away. But I have to say, like, a lot of the time, I don't have much to say about them because they kind of come before, me becoming a fan. And that really wasn't the case with Scott Hall because I became a fan, I think, pretty much at the same time that he debuted. I very much remember those vignettes with Razor Ramon. And in fact, my first pay-per-view that I think or cycle that I watched was the one where he headlined with Ric Flair against Mr. Perfect and Macho Man Randy Savage. So, I mean, his career, I think, and my fandom have really kind of come, neck and neck in terms of just how relevant he was. Of course, at points like this, we all know about the controversy, but I think for me, his story is very much reflected by somebody who somehow managed to overcome a lot of those very difficult demons that I imagine he was struggling to until, the last day of his life. And at least, in the public realm seemed to have his shit together by the end. And that to me is how I choose to remember.
I think like that's a huge part of it, and I think it's something that you go into, and it was really explored in that E60 piece of like where this trauma really manifested itself for him, and it was outside of a club getting into an altercation with another individual who pulled a gun, and like Scott Hall walked away from that, and the other guy did not, and that seemed to be the spark to a lot of unrest in his life, and that to me. That does not excuse everything, but I mean, we are looking at a root cause here of an extremely traumatic event in somebody's life that goes untreated. And I think we're in a better space today to look at something like that and compare it to, I mean, if you were in a life-threatening car wreck and decided, I'm not going to do physio, I'm just going to fix myself. That would be insane, and you would not probably be nursing yourself back to 100% health. You go through a traumatic event like that and get no kind of psychological help for that, and it goes untreated, it can open its doors to other avenues in life. And this was a guy that lived a very, very difficult life, but one that also did so in a very public spotlight and had great success. Like the exterior of Scott Hall was one of a very cool professional wrestling character that many people grew up idolizing, and then becoming an even bigger star in his last major WCW run. He had several of them, but of course, a part of the Monday Night Wars and the NWO angle that took him to even greater heights, which had its positives and negatives when you are at that kind of a level of a star and what is available to you when there are many vices in your life.
Certainly, yeah, yeah. But in terms of like career peaks, I mean, the man has had many of them that I think the average wrestler can only dream of. Like just to simply be able to have the type of WrestleMania match that still gets talked about to this day, like he has in the first WrestleMania ladder match, at least with Shawn Michaels, of course, and all the controversy that seemed to follow him in the Clique as they exited the WWE, and the tremendous impact he had to kickstart the Monday Night Wars, or at least to really drive it to the next level as that first debut in the NWO. These are kind of industry changing moments.
Yeah, and I mean, he was somebody that too, like when you look at it, like he was born in '58, so like do the math there of where he was by the time the NWO angle is getting started. Like he's nearing 40 at that point. But of course, he went to many different territories, went over to New Japan, had time in like Florida, in Central States. It was like he was all over the place before he kind of got those big breaks. Had a few cup of coffees with WCW as the Diamond Stud, and then it's to the WWF as Razor Ramon, and that is the character that truly took him to another level in 1992, and then was there through '96. Made the shift over to WCW and was there until 2000, and after that it was kind of just he had that opportunity. Like people forget that he had like a sizable like run in New Japan in 2001 after WCW had gone out of business. He had left before they officially went out of business, but in 2001, like he had several months there working alongside Team 2000, and then got the return to WWF, which was I would say a very controversial call at the time. Not that Hogan, Hall, and Nash, you're looking for stars, and WWE they needed an injection of something big coming off a failed Invasion angle, and their contracts were they were available and they were able to bring them in, but it was, what are we bringing into our locker room? And it was certainly a very, very debated call. And you can look at the three of them of what got out of that run, but with Hall, like comes in, gets a match with Steve Austin at WrestleMania. Like, you could not shoot for a better scenario if you are Scott Hall for that show in Toronto. And kind of the talk at that time was that, they wanted to put Scott Hall over. And, it was like, is this guy someone we can depend on if we have him win? And so Austin goes over, and, within 6-7 weeks, like, Hall's gone after that plane ride from hell. And that was sort of his last opportunity for a major national run. Yes, there was the TNA runs afterwards, right up until 2010 when he came back, when it was the Bischoff, Bischoff and Hogan had come in there. But largely it was that 2002 run that seemed to be his last chance to have something substantial in WWE. But I look at him and Jake as two people that if they could have, during their prime years, these guys would have been tremendous assets as road agents, as people that could be liaisons between the office and the talent. You have everyone that just marvels at some of the wrestling IQ that a Scott Hall had. He was credited with giving Sting the impetus behind the Crow character that he had, huge success with. So you're going to hear probably a lot of stories about Scott Hall. And again, there were people he certainly rubbed the wrong way in his career, but others that you have seen today that, stories of independent guys having their tabs picked up by Scott Hall when he was on the road with them. Like, that's, there's always good and bad. And I think that comes with someone with the complexities of a Scott Hall.
Yeah, very well said, John. Yeah, and in the days to come, I'm sure, it will run the gamut of memories with the man's life and career. So our thoughts and prayers, of course, to everybody who, was close to the man.
Yeah, it's especially his children, Cody and Cassidy, and those around him. I mean, it's going to leave a big void for many people. So all the best to the Hall family during this extremely trying time. And then we move on to another tough story, and that was Big E suffering a broken neck on Friday during the tag match with Sheamus and Ridge Holland. This was after he took an errant belly-to-belly overhead suplex on the floor. And afterward, Big E put up video that very night stating that he did have a broken neck. And, I mean, a broken neck is brutal, but at least there is some good news that came out of this. On Saturday, he posted that his C1 and C6 vertebrae are fractured but did not have a displacement, and says that he didn't have any damage to his spinal cord, no ligament damage, and will not need surgery, which he states he is obviously very thankful for. Not being a medical professional, but what I've seen is like C1, like we're talking very, very serious when you're talking like C1. But this is something that if he is in fact avoiding surgery, like this could be something of like 8 to 12 weeks I've seen as like an estimated recovery period. So, I mean, it's a broken neck, and who knows if this will have compounding problems down the road for him. But it seems like he escaped some like pretty horrific outcomes that this could have led to.
Completely. Yeah, when we're talking any sort of neck damage, especially what will look to be so severe for a man of his size, with all that weight falling down on his neck. I mean, I can't imagine, such a scary scenario as a professional wrestler. So to hear this sort of prognosis is, I think, nothing short of a miracle. And hopefully, he can make a return back to as much of full health as he's able to. And you're right, John. Does something like this have lasting repercussions? For later on in his life. I don't know. I certainly hope not. But either way, if he took it a bit easier in his in-ring style after coming back, I certainly wouldn't hold it against him whatsoever.
Do you look at this, and I think it's just because we have it in such close proximity with the Madcap Moss near miss a couple of weeks back at Elimination Chamber? Like, is this just something that we have to chalk up that, listen, we see hundreds, probably thousands of overhead suplexes every single year, and there is going to be certain times when it doesn't pan out, that it would be alarmist to jump to conclusions about just a move, or maybe like it's like Lance Storm always brings up in these injuries. It's not so much the move, but the people that are capable of executing the moves that should be the focus here. I'm not, I'm obviously not a worker, so I don't feel like in the proper place to, adjudicate what moves are safe, unsafe. That's for the workers to decide. But nonetheless, it is something that we just watch these so close together, and like we almost had a similar issue with Madcap Moss just a few weeks ago.
Yeah. It's professional wrestling. It's a very dangerous, high contact sport, athletic activity, especially at this high level. So I do think, unfortunately, injuries like this are part of the risk that every wrestler takes when he decides to step in there. But of course, I think there are, certainly questions to be assessed when it comes to skill level and who is capable of pulling off, the higher risk moves, who's capable of taking the higher risk moves. As you mentioned, John, that's not up for you or I or any viewer to necessarily decide. It's up to the performers and their instructors and the people that are there to really make those choices. In this situation, I can't really tell you, who was at fault or whether or not any fault could be placed. But of course, I think like constantly assessing the risk reward factor of an entertainment, athletic feat, I think is always at least, worth discussing. But I don't know if any concrete change might come from this particular instance.
Yeah, it's tricky, and I wouldn't even narrow it in on like just one specific move or move set. But I mean, there is the general trend of, eliciting that excitement of dropping people as close to their heads and those high angle suplexes on the neck that are going to get that awe factor from the audience because of the danger quotient that you are increasing. And when you are, and this was really not that case. This was not like, this was just to be a routine overhead belly to belly land, flat back bump on the floor. But, that is a larger trend of just introducing that because of the danger factor that is going to pick up a crowd.
Yeah, certainly. And, we can really kind of point to how much we love perhaps, and how much we glorify perhaps a lot of basic, head dropping spots, or at least spots that are intentional and tease the audience with the idea that this move was so devastating because this person nearly fell on their head. Again, I think we have to trust the the skill level of the participants that are doing it on a case by case basis. It's they are dangerous, and I think they elicit a big reaction for a reason, because I think it takes a high level of skill to pull off. So I would maybe urge that it be left to those that are very confident to pull the moves off, and maybe if there's something that I could say as a viewer, it's to tell wrestlers who don't have as much experience to not feel that pressure to say no, or just to say I'm not comfortable with it.
We do have a few returns over the weekend at the WWE house shows. Becky Lynch was back working each night. They were doing 4-on-3 handicap matches. So it was Becky with Carmella, Zelina, and Doudrop against Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley. So she really only missed Raw last Monday. Presumably she'll be back on Raw tonight.
Yeah. Again, I don't really know the extent of what an injury that she had would keep her away from active wrestling, but clearly she's been cleared, and it seems like WrestleMania is still on track. But yeah, I'm sure a difficult few days or weeks, or a week, 1 week. Becky Lynch?
She got injured last Sunday in Laval, and then missed Monday, and that's when she put up the post. So. I would assume she is back tonight. Also returning was Xavier Woods on Saturday. So he had been out with a torn plantaris, and he came back. And on the first night, he was teaming with Kofi against the Usos and Sheamus and Ridge Holland in a triple threat. And there's a photo with Kofi and Xavier Woods, who I'm sure were performing under extenuating circumstances just hours after the Big E injury, which, I mean, Kofi was part of the match. And then on the second night, they teamed with Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns and the Usos.
Yeah, there are rumors that, he was set to return anyway to take part in a 6-man tag, as you had alluded to on Friday, John, with the debuting Butch as part of the crew with Ridge Holland and
You said
Sheamus.
that with a lot of force. Butch.
Well, how else do you say the name Butch?
Butch.
You gotta say it with a groveling Butch voice. Yeah. But we'll see what happens to the WrestleMania match. Do they add a third person in to try to fit the three to continue with the 6-on-6, or 3-on-3, or do we simply get a tag match? Either way, I'm sure the Woods return was probably set to take place on a bigger stage, and I guess I suppose it still can, especially under the circumstances. But they needed somebody for this house show.
Yeah. So I could see many different directions of where you could go. As you said, they could find a third for Kofi and Woods. They could throw them in and add just to the tag title match with Ridge and Sheamus. I don't know if Butch becomes odd man out, but we will see what happens. Obviously, there's a bit of a reshuffling there. On the New Japan Cup front, we do have one quarterfinal match set up after today, as Kazuchika Okada defeated Taichi and Shima defeated Hiroki Goto. So those two will meet on Sunday in the round of 8. And then the remaining second round matches we'll see on Tuesday. Hiroshi Tanahashi against Tetsuya Naito and Jeff Cobb against Yoshihashi. Presumably, we get Cobb coming out of that, I guess, against Naito. We will see. I guess Tanahashi, you could go that way, but Naito and Cobb seems more the program that they have been continuing. Thursday sees Will Ospreay against Sonata and Great O'Khan against Zack Sabre Jr. And then Friday, the second round will conclude with Evil against Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo Takagi against Chase Owens. So I think we are going to get Shingo and Evil once again. That is what the New Japan Cup will likely bring us.
Okay. And some, considerable drama on the Bullet Club front, of course, from the weekend, with God and Jado being kicked out of the club.
Yes, it's just falling apart at the seams, the Bullet Club.
Oh,
after all these years, yes.
Ouch.
And tonight, we've got Raw in Jacksonville, Florida, a championship celebration with RK Bro, and then Kevin Owens' reaction to Steve Austin's reaction.
Translation: we have no idea what's on the show yet tonight.
Kevin Owens will be on the show, and he will speak. He will be represented in some form where he will speak and somehow allude to Steve Austin. That is what we know. And then maybe we can get Steve Austin's reaction to Kevin Owens' reaction to Steve Austin's reaction to Owens' first promo.
I mean, really, what is life but a set of reactions to something else?
That is very true. That's how we keep things moving here. And obviously, the big question will be tonight. Everyone fixated on whether or not we see Cody Rhodes on Raw If he's not on the show, I wouldn't rule that out as there's no chance. But certainly, I think the other person everyone is watching is Seth Rollins. And is he just kept in a holding pattern? If so, I think that would tell you that they have hopes of that being the match. And if Rollins sets up an angle with somebody else, I think that would be telling as well. So there's going to be a lot of decoding on tonight's Raw.
Ooh, very nice decoding.
I can't stay away from it.
Oh boy, I mean, it's kind of very much been positioned as sort of like a deadline day for the Cody Rhodes WrestleMania. Not the deadline for Cody Rhodes being a part of the WWE, but the deadline for maybe his insertion into WrestleMania. Of course, this is all just kind of speculation. They could insert him on day one and have him appear at day two if they really wanted to. But as far as a traditional WrestleMania build with enough time to tell a story. And it being in Jacksonville being the principal reason why we would expect it tonight, I'm sure
it would seem like if everyone was on the same page, you had pen to paper, like this is the obvious Raw to do it in. But again, if we're talking tonight and there's no Cody on the show, I don't think that completely writes it off. Unless we see like a pretty clear-cut direction for Seth Rollins that is not Cody. That would probably suggest at best a significant snag, and at worst something falling apart. But I think at this point, I think most are looking at it that at the end of the day, this will come together, but it still remains to be seen.
We also have a new Hall of Fame induction ceremony, John.
Oh, that is right. Inductee, yes. So joining The Undertaker and Vader, Queen Sharmell will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame. And, of course, Sharmell goes all the way back to her days as Storm, as part of the Nitro Girls, then became Paisley with the artist formerly known as Prince, ... Ayakea. Then with Kiwi. I learned all of this morning.
Wow.
Yes. And
Kiwi as well. I forgot that.
Yeah, remember Kiwi?
I do. I don't remember Sharmell being a part of it, but okay. Cool.
Yeah, the Alan Funk pairing with Sharmell is a bit of a blind spot for me. I certainly remember Prince Ayakea and her together. And then, that was when kind of all the Nitro Girls, this was more so once Russo and Ferrara were there, where that like all of the Nitro Girls kind of had to get involved into storylines and begin wrestling. That included Sharmell. And then left the WCW, went to OVW and briefly was used as a backstage interviewer, and then came back years later for her probably most remembered run when she was paired with her husband, Booker T. First, they were like a babyface act, and that brought us what Kurt Angle has called the most embarrassing storyline of his entire career, when his character was obsessed with having sex, bestial sex, as I recall, with Sharmell. And yes,
what the fuck?
Even when a writer tried to correct them, they were dead set on the term bestial sex with Sharmell. It was some horrific television, even for that time. When you go back to 2005, like low-key 2005 is some of the worst stuff that they had going on at the time. Like Jillian Hall's Mole, I could probably go through much more in 2005. But then led to, of course, the Queen Sharmell character with King Booker. That the two were very good together in that act.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm guessing the bestial sexes doesn't get brought up in the Hall of Fame video package that we'll see.
Odds are it probably does not. And then they both went, after they left the company in 2007, went to TNA. And I remember it being like an actually very good angle that they did with Bobby Roode and Tracy Brooks, where they were doing a intergender tag match. And Bobby Roode was in the corner, and he threw like an errant elbow that caught Sharmell. And they actually did like a really good job with this. And then I put it in the story today of like Booker at the hospital giving like this heartfelt reaction, blaming himself for it. It was actually like the most memorable thing I recall of that kind of TNA run, is especially for Sharmell. Like he still had them in the main event Mafia and such. And yeah, there you go. It's Sharmell in the Hall of Fame.
Does it indicate to you, like, do you have an idea how long this actual Hall of Fame ceremony is? Because it seems like they're giving us a full class. Yeah.
I think so. Like, I think we're going to get inductions the next 2 Mondays. So I think that you're going to have a full class. And I've heard like the window is like 10:30 till midnight. Now it's the network. I guess they could just extend that. But like, how long are they expecting this audience at the American Airlines Center to be there unless you keep these speeches extremely short, except for The Undertaker?
Yeah. I mean, that's the route that I'm assuming they'll try to take.
Like,
But
do they even have people induct some of the, like, you'll have Vince induct the Undertaker, but are the rest gonna have like separate speeches to induct them, and then the person comes out for the induction speech, or in the case of Vader, like his family? I just don't know how much like how long are you gonna keep people, like a Hall of Fame ceremony, even if it's 5-6 inductees, like those were long ceremonies.
yeah.
And,
I mean,
Taker's going to be long, you would think.
definitely. I would hope that they have inductors, people to induct the inductees, because I mean, to me, that's part of the fanfare and part of the fun of it. I do think they'll probably make a more concerted effort to keep everybody to time rather than just kind of let people go loose. But of course, like if it's going to be live, I mean, anything can really happen once you put a live mic for people to talk about the totality of their entire careers, right?
Here to
So,
induct Sharmell, Hillbilly Jim.
did they have
No.
Oh, you
I'm
mean
just
because of Hillbilly Jim's
Just for
infamous
a-
speech? Got it. Yes, of course.
Or Kurt Angle. You call on Kurt Angle.
You could, yeah. We have a few super chats today, John, to get to, and actually quite a few. So I want to thank everybody in advance because I think most of these are just simply to support us. First of all, we go to Brian Dillon, who sends a €10 super chat, which I think
Whoa.
in Canadian dollars, this has got to be like $100.
I'm retiring.
Basically. So thank you, Brian Dillon, for the €10 super chat just to support us. Thank you so much. Jake from the Windy City, longtime supporter, sends a $2 super chat just to say happy birthday, Cowboy Wai Ting. Thank you very much, Jake. Ruza, also a constant supporter of us, sends his $7.99 Australian dollars to say happy birthday, Wai. Enjoy your own $7.99 coffees and hope you enjoy your day. You're both legends. All my love and thoughts with the Hall family. Hey, yo. Thank you for that, Ruza. We got a Brian Strelekis, who sends a $3.14 super chat just to say happy birthday, Wai. Big ups to the bad guy. And then, of course, our favorite, Brandon from New Jersey, sends a $5 super chat.
Brother to Simon from New Jersey.
Who?
His brother, Simon.
Oh, okay. He has a brother named Simon. Did he say that before?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Simon Says.
Okay, so he actually has a question. Salute to Wai today. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Casey Leiden's MMA fight coming up? He made it on the Fight Finder.
So, for those aware, a legendary videographer, Casey Leiten, is having his first MMA bout this coming weekend, and
MMA fighting's Casey Leiten.
Yes.
Like who worked side by side with Ariel Helwani for many years.
yeah, he's been training like for several months and has been like documenting it, and he's having his first fight this weekend, and he noted like there's going to be streaming information, so I am absolutely going to watch this fight.
I'm very excited for it. I mean, it's not every day that I think you know somebody that is about to enter an MMA cage. So my excitement level for that alone is enough. But also somebody who I've worked next to, somebody who's lent me microphones because I've forgotten them, or I didn't have a non-wireless microphone, and just to kind of see. I mean, I'm Facebook friends with him, so I've been seeing some of his training and his transformation, and it's very inspiring. So I know he's been working really hard, and I think he'll do really well.
Yeah, so we wish all the best to Casey. I think just the process of going through it is a win in and of itself. Like to go through that period, like knowing that you are going to fight at the end of it. I mean, he's probably in the greatest shape of his life, and just having that kind of preparation. I mean, that's like such a cool experience just to undergo of someone that has followed and covered the industry for as long as he has. So very happy for him.
Who's going to take the pictures? I wonder.
Oh, that's a great. He said that he is producing his own countdown show.
Wow. Okay. I look forward to that.
I'll
What a unique look into it, of course. One last super chat here from Bizarre Kind, who sends another €10 super chat to say, great news coverage as always. Love you guys. Thank you so much, Bizarre.
All right. Thanks to everyone for these super chats. And before we get out of here, we have a new shirt out. Is this true, Wai?
We have a remix of a shirt. Of course, everybody knows last week, Eddie Kingston showed up on AEW Dynamite with WH Park's Long and Winding Royal Road 4-pillar shirt. We have released an updated version of it. And with this updated version, until March 31st, 30% of the profits from the sale of this t-shirt will be going towards the Japanese Red Cross Society in honor of the 11-year anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami. We at Post Wrestling will match the donation to be sent to Doctors Without Borders in support of their ongoing efforts during Ukraine's humanitarian crisis. I want to thank everybody who has purchased one of these so far. And yeah, until the end of the month, you can get yours in support of two great causes. And of course, the Long and Winding Road as well, WH Park Show, which dropped a new edition this past weekend.
Yes, they went through the October 1999 match with No Fear against Kenta Kobashi and Jun Akiyama. So you can go watch that match. It's an under 20-minute match to watch, and then they spend the episode going through that particular match. So thanks to everybody that has checked out the T-shirt, and as well to the original artist, Sean McKenzie.
Sean McKenzie, absolutely, yeah. You know, we unfortunately can't sell his version of the shirt anymore, but we definitely hope to work with him again in the future.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. A big happy birthday to one Wai Ting, a true Iron Man, here on his birthday, as he will be back tonight with me, 11:15 Eastern, here on this very channel, minutes after Raw concludes. So you can tune in live for Rewind to Raw, as we will be going through all of the happenings in Jacksonville, Florida. So thanks to everybody for tuning in live. We'll speak with you tonight, and that concludes your post-Daily News Show.